It was the dream of Canada's very first Prime Minister, Sir John A. Macdonald, to have a country that stretched from coast to coast, united by a transcontinental railway. At the time, there was very little settlement in the West. It was primarily occupied by First Nations people, some explorers, and gold seekers. In 1867, the same year Canada the country was formed, the United States purchased Alaska, and there was fear that they would try to annex the entire Pacific coast. With this threat, Sir John A. Macdonald was even more determined to continue on his pursuit of a country that stretched from the Atlantic Ocean to the Pacific Ocean. He promised British Columbia that if they joined Confederacy, he would build a railway to the Pacific Ocean within 10 years, which would bring more settlement and further business opportunities. British Columbia agreed to the deal, and in 1871 they joined the Confederation as a province of Canada. The major obstacle standing in the way of Sir John A. Macdonald's dream of a transcontinental railway was the formidable mountain range which stretched over 600 miles and restricted access to the west coast. A portion of this, a stretch known as Rogers Pass, is a very narrow valley surrounded by mountains on all sides. That, combined with the approximately 10 meters of snow that falls annually in this region, Rogers Pass is prone to avalanches and was one of the most dangerous stretches of the Canadian Pacific Railway. The pass is named in honor of American-born Major A.B. Rogers, who was hired by the Canadian Pacific Railway to find passages through the mountain ranges in which they could build the railroad. Another surveyor, Sir Sandford Fleming, was also surveying the region for the Canadian Pacific Railway at the time and proposed a route farther north than Rogers Pass, but the Canadian Pacific Railway ultimately chose Rogers' more direct route in which to build. More direct perhaps, but it was also proved to be extremely costly, time-consuming, and dangerous to keep the tracks open in the winter months. In just 26 years of operation, there were hundreds of deaths reported along this section alone. Something had to be done. The answer was to build a tunnel directly under Rogers Pass and nearby Mount Macdonald. The Connaught Tunnel, spanning an incredible 8 kilometers or 5 miles, is still in operation by the Canadian Pacific Railway today and has prevented many deaths and unnecessary expenses for the company. In the late 1800s, at the area known as Craigellachie in British Columbia, Sir John A. Macdonald's dream was achieved, as the last spike was driven in to complete the Canadian Pacific Railway. Just as is the case in most political endeavors today, there were many challenges along the way, however. Although Macdonald committed the railway to BC in 1871, the project didn't get underway until 1880, when a group of wealthy businessmen from Montreal were awarded the rights to build the Transcontinental Railway with a pressing 10-year deadline in which to complete it. Construction began on the east coast and progressed slowly to start with. Once they reached the flat prairies of central Canada, they were able to push along quickly. However, construction ground to a crawl when they came to the Rocky Mountains. In an attempt to expedite the project, a team began building from the west coast as well, and it was at Craigellachie that the teams met. It was there on November 7, 1885, 4 years ahead of schedule, that the final spike was hammered in to complete the Canadian Pacific Railway and unite Canada from coast to coast. Today, Craigellachie is a small tourist attraction with flags from each of the provinces of Canada, an old caboose, a large stone cairn marking the completion of the project, and the last spike plaque which reads, "A nebulous dream was a reality. An iron ribbon crossed Canada from sea to sea." Often following the footsteps of early explorers, nearly 3,000 miles of steel rail pushed across vast prairies, cleft lofty mountain passes, twisted through canyons, and bridged 1,000 streams. Here, on November 7, 1885, a plain iron spike welded Canada's east to west.